lot of people ask me, why do you wrestle barefoot? And I do it for a couple reasons. one, it's different. two, I'm used to it because I fought in the UFC. three, when I would wrestle with shoes, I'd make mistakes.
Riddle distracted by the big man.
In UFC, I was entertaining, but I wasn't as entertaining as I could be. Pro wrestling gave me the platform to really deliver it.
This is just a tribute.
And a nod to Randy.
It's happened for a reason. One door shuts, another door opens. There's always a dumb article written about me. I'm getting porn stars pregnant. And for WWE, I'm a PR nightmare, and I get it.
So this interview with Matt Riddle is going to look a little bit different. I set up all the cameras, I set up all the lights, I set the mics up myself. It's like a one-man deal here. And it was kind of dark in there. We shot at this awesome bar in Hollywood called Knucklehead. So shout out to Knucklehead for letting us shoot there. But it was kind of dark, so I moved the lights in at the last second, and then I hit record, and I didn't realize that this is what we'd be seeing in the two-shot. I moved the light in so much that it was covering my face on the entire shot. So with that said, in this interview, you'll mostly be seeing that solo shot of Matt for, obvious reasons, but I just wanted to let you know. And by the way, if you're one of the many people who just watch the channel but don't hit subscribe and you haven't subscribed yet, could you change that right now? If you've ever enjoyed any interview here on my main channel, please just hit subscribe. Thank you in advance, and please enjoy this conversation with Matt Riddle.
We are making it happen.
It's happening.
Thank you for making the time to do this. What a day you've had today.
Hey, it's a normal day in the life of, me.
And here we are at Knucklehead Bar in Hollywood. Our original plan to be in the studio didn't work out.
Yeah, we've had a couple original plans. I think we were supposed to meet up in Philadelphia, possibly.
And then Orlando.
And now we were supposed to meet at the studio earlier today at 3. But now I think it's close to 3. It's like 3:30?
Something like that, yeah.
4 at the Knucklehead Bar.
But then I rolled up here. My friend JB, who runs Circle 6 Wrestling, was standing outside. I'm like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. The last time I was here, they had Barroom Blitz, which is this insane wrestling show. So I've been here before. I'm glad I'm here with you now.
I'm glad to be here.
Are you busier than ever right now?
I'm starting 2024 hot, it's been good. And what did I start out? I did MLW, a bunch of signings in New York City. And then the following week, wrestled for New Japan, made my New Japan debut. Got to wrestle with Zack Sabre again. Bad Dude Tito, Jeff Cobb, the Chosen Bros were reunited. And then last night, I was in Tijuana, wrestled at the Crash. It's been a good 6 years. And it was a huge turnout. And even today, I had another signing this morning at the Wrestling Guy store. And it was awesome. Line out the door, and everybody was happy to see the bro.
So you went from being so busy, 100 miles an hour in WWE, comes to a screeching halt. You're just sitting at home for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And then it just picks up, and you're probably busier than you were then.
You know what? I'm not as busy. I'm probably doing less matches and less shows. Because before I was probably working 4 days a week. I do SmackDown, live events, and Raw. If it was an easy week, it was probably live events and Raw. And then, of course, you got shows like The Bump and other things that they schedule around your already existing schedule. So when you work for WWE, all my credit goes off to the guys that are still there, the ladies that are still there. It is one of the toughest jobs, hardest jobs, and it just to travel nonstop and not really be able to organize anything. But for me, it's a lot. So it's nice because now I'm busier than ever, but I'm busy at my level. I kind of create my pace, all my shows, I get to pick my spots, and it's nice. It's nice to have some kind of control again,
How do you decide what color your nails are going to be?
Honestly, I just look at the board that day. I think of gear. I think of other things like that I might wear. But, also, I feel like a lot of people like to express themselves. I feel like I have a pretty bright personality. I'm pretty energetic. I like to have a good time. And I feel like I always go with a bright color.
I would call this maybe chartreuse.
Yeah, the lady.
Is that what it is?
The lady that did it, it was actually a green, but she put white under the green, then put the green on top. And for some reason, it just popped 10 times more than it normally would. And it looks great. I got it done for New Japan, and I don't know if I'll get it again. Maybe I'll go with gold next time. Because next time I'll be wrestling for New Japan, I'll be in Japan. in Sapporo against Tanahashi-san for the television championship. So I'm feeling gold.
It's not just the fingernails, it's the toes
well.
Well, my goodness.
Well, it started with the toes because I wrestled barefoot.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, you know, everybody's got these fancy boots and stuff. I'm not even taping my ankles or anything. Maybe I'll get a pedicure, treat myself, but also kind of add to the character. You know, and then I was like, oh, the feet look good. Might as well do the hands. Might as well get a mani-pedi. And now here we are, you know, and I'm living large and comfortably and feeling good and trying to look good.
When you wrestle barefoot, is there ever like a fear of like, I might step on a weird angle or step on something sharp?
I get this question a lot. And for me, I don't fear that. If anything, I make more mistakes when I wear shoes or boots or anything because I'm not as careful. Even if I wear knee pads, I'm more likely to just jump and land on my knees wrong or do something crazy because I feel like I have that added protection. And that's a lot of people ask me, why do you wrestle barefoot? And I do it for a couple reasons. One, it's different. Most people don't do it. Two, I'm used to it because I fought in the UFC, did a lot of jujitsu, still do.
Yeah.
And then three, when I would wrestle with shoes, like I was saying, I'd make mistakes. So when I wrestle barefoot, I had to do everything perfect. If I don't wear knee pads, I have to do everything perfect or I'm going to get hurt. So it allows me to do things the proper way. And I feel like other legends that have seen me do that and they know what I can do and what I'm capable of and not getting hurt and doing it, they're like, that's a talent in itself.
That's putting so much trust in your opponent to not step on your toes.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Okay.
And to be fair, when I was a child, I did get frostbite on my feet. And I really don't feel the tops of my feet or anything. So I don't mind kicking or slapping with them. Or if somebody steps on, because people always step on them, they're like, oh, sorry. I'm like, it's all good, you know?
When you talk about UFC, do you feel like the Matt Riddle character that we saw in WWE was starting to get developed in The Ultimate Fighter?
I don't know if I'm like the Miz. The Miz persona started out in the real world, right? And then transferred into the WWE. I feel like for me, I've always been this version of me, of course. But I feel like, I wouldn't even say WWE, it's pro wrestling. But like even in the UFC, I was entertaining, but I wasn't as entertaining as I could be. And once I started pro wrestling, that's when I really started to like have to connect with people, talk to people, really try to like captivate an audience or make them feel everything I'm doing. And there's hints of it in my UFC career. Like I fought John McGuire and I rocked him and I G up the crowd before I go in to finish him and things like that. But or I've done Randy's taunt, even before me and Randy tagged. I've done Randy's taunt when I got submission of the night and when I TKO'd DeMarcus Johnson in San Diego. So it's like, I've always had that in me, but pro wrestling really gave me the platform to really deliver it to people.
If you follow me on social media, you might have seen these photos. I've been in the gym pumping up those pythons, brother. No stranger, I'm a big fan of the gym. You might have seen this video in the cold plunge. I'm always doing whatever I can to give myself just that little bit of an edge in terms of my health. And I wanted to get a sauna. Then I saw how much a sauna cost. And then I realized that an infrared blanket like this one from Bond Charge would give me all of the same benefits and just a fraction of the cost. It really helps with detoxifying. I mean, especially if you've been eating badly or maybe you've had one too many drinks. It can also burn a lot of calories to help with weight loss. The sauna blanket works by raising your heart rate to that level of physical exercise so you burn calories while you're just kind of hanging out. I mean, you can burn up to 600 calories in just one session with the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. It's super easy to set up. I mean, it sets up in less than a minute, heats up faster than any other infrared sauna blanket on the market. And I think the best part about it is it's really easy to clean. And there's this real feeling after you're done of just like, you're rested and you're relaxed. And I love that. Check it out for yourself, bondcharge.com/CVV. And when you use that promo code CVV at checkout, you'll get 15% off. They've got lightning fast shipping. You got a 12-month warranty. You've got nothing to lose, except some weight and a lot of sweat. Go check it out, bondcharge.com/CVV.
What's your relationship with UFC right now? Like, would you be able to communicate with Dana White?
I mean, I could communicate with anybody. You know, I'll talk to anybody. I don't mind. But
Would he take your call?
I don't think he would take my call, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's got a lot going on, and he's not really into. If I fought 10 times or maybe 5 times, I knocked out 5 people in a row right now, and I'm the best in the world, I think I might get a call.
Sure.
But if I'm not fighting top talent and beating top talent, he runs the UFC, runs the best fighting organization in the world, and he's not in it for per se money fights. There have been in the past, but I don't think that's his objective. I think his objective is to have the top ranked fighters and see who the best in the world is. And by default, you're probably going to get entertainment out of that.
So you're saying if you fought another MMA fight, it's not going to be UFC yet?
It could be maybe one day. If anything, I'd probably go the PFL route. You know, I already dealt with Bellator. I think they have a new matchmaker, but the last one I dealt with last time wasn't my cup of tea, you know. And the thing with mixed martial arts too is it's a really ugly world, and it's really hard, and it's brutal, and it's tough, and there's no easy, and the only people that make money are the people at top, you know. So, you know, it's a very difficult world. But I've talked to multiple promotions. I've talked to Bare Knuckle. I've talked to them. And I've told them, you know, we didn't talk fights or numbers or anything, but I said if the money's right and the fight's right, I'm down for whatever, you know?
You'd do a bare knuckle fight?
I would do whatever, dude. I know how to fight. I've been fighting since I was a kid. I fought in the UFC. And there's been other UFC fighters. Now, I'd rather do MMA. That's my bread and butter. You know, and I'd actually rather just do professional wrestling at this point because I stay busier. It's not like fighting where I'd only fight once every 3 months, maybe if I'm lucky,
right?
Or if I even took other fights. And the injuries and other things. With pro wrestling, even if I get injured, I could probably work around it one way or another if I'm good enough, you know? And the signings and everything. And then just that connection to the audience you don't get in MMA. MMA, I would have to do something social media-wise. That would be my connection. And then they'd come see me fight, right? Kind of like the Pauls, kind of like Sugar Sean, kind of like even Conor. Conor's like a megastar on social media. And he was a megastar in the UFC too, but they play together and people know where he's going to be because he says it, you know? So
I'm a big believer that things happen in our lives for a reason because it leads us to where we're sitting here right now at Knucklehead Bar.
Yeah.
You leaving UFC felt like, from the outside looking in, feels really stupid.
Yeah, well, especially if you fast forward to now because you know the rules and everything. And even when I was with the UFC and I got fired for failing a drug test, marijuana 2 times, and I had a medical license and everything. And now you fast forward, it's off the banned substance list. And funny enough, back then TRT was allowed, and now TRT's on the banned substance list. And that's all I was saying. Then I go, hey, you're allowing fighters to use steroids and painkillers prescribed by doctors, but you're not allowing me to use medical marijuana because it's a performance enhancing drug and I'm super dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my argument then. And even the athletic, I think it was Mark Ratner, we talked just whispers, and he was like, you're 100% right, you know? But it took, 10 years?
Yeah.
But that's just kind of how it is. So it's stupid, but at the same time, I feel like being a victim of prohibition also skyrocketed my stardom in a way. Because even when I was in the UFC, I wasn't a household name or that well known. But then when I got fired for smoking weed and Dana White put me on blast and called me a loser and this, that, go make 6 figures somewhere else smoking weed, this, that. Well, now all of his fighters are doing that, right? And now I'm doing that easily, and I've been doing it for a decade now.
So after that, did pro wrestling find you, or did you find pro wrestling?
I always, and I had this talk with some kids earlier at the signing, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. I grew up watching pro wrestling. I loved pro wrestling. Then I started watching mixed martial arts as I got older, in high school. But I was still big in pro wrestling, and that's what I wanted to do. But I felt like at that era, that time, the guys were huge. They were bigger than me. The mixed martial arts guys are Kurt Angle got it, but most of the other guys, they were good wrestlers, but that wasn't advertised. That wasn't their moniker or gimmick or thing that helped them, you know? So I forgot the question, but
did you find pro wrestling?
I always wanted to do it. But I felt like I didn't have an opportunity. So amateur wrestling, then college wrestling, then the jujitsu into the UFC, because felt like I could get into the UFC. There's weight classes. I'm pretty good at amateur, say national champion. I had some pedigree, so and I went that route. And then at the end of my UFC career, I was fighting on like the indies, the regionals, and I was fighting for a company called Titan FC, and I got injured again. And I was like sitting at home and I couldn't fight. I was broke. I have 3 kids. And I was just like, and I was watching WrestleMania when it first came out on the WWE network for $9.99. And I could afford it, right? And I'm watching WrestleMania and I saw Daniel Bryan overcome everything.
WrestleMania 30.
And Daniel Bryan, hey, inspirational, dude. It's like, but like I saw him do it and I was like, wow, like not only is he smaller than these guys, but he's extremely talented. He has the kind of a martial arts background, or at least he uses submissions, jujitsu, and like Muay Thai strikes. And I was like, I think like this is a good time to get into it. And, you know, and I just watched a lot of pro wrestling then and before. So started training. I actually moved from Vegas to Pennsylvania. Started training at the world famous Monster Factory and trained there. And just all I did was wrestle, lift weights, eat and wrestle, take care of my kids, landscape, roof, shovel driveways in the winter, whatever I had to do. And I was making my money and I sold my house. So I was still living off of that from the, you know, but that's how I was doing it. And then eventually by the time I was almost completely broke, I started getting paid to wrestle.
There's a real lesson there because I think there's a lot of people that would go, man, he was in the UFC. He was, you know, so successful in the UFC. How could he possibly want to go back to landscaping and trying to make ends meet?
I don't think that was a choice, you know, when you have 3 kids. And I think that's a big thing. I'm big on taking care of my responsibilities. And if I have 3 kids, I'm going to make sure they're fed, they're clothed, they have a house, they're happy, you know, like that's like important to me. So I think for me, like it wasn't a question. It was like, how?
Yeah.
You know, what job, who can I get a job with that's going to be lenient with my wrestling training, this, that, and the other thing, but I can still make enough money to put food on the table and do this and still be around, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what that's what was available, you know?
It's crazy that you're sitting here. I can't even picture how you would cut to make 170.
It was brutal.
What do you sit here at right now?
I'm probably like 215, 220.
That's 45 pounds.
And I'm pretty cut up. I'm pretty shredded. It was a tough cut, but I'll say this. Well, I really didn't have a choice in that cut either. I was on the Ultimate Fighter at 185, which is still pretty tough for me to make, but easy enough where I'm not like dying, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was on the Ultimate Fighter at. I lost one fight on the show, won the finale fight, and then the UFC hit me up like, hey, we want you to drop to 170. And I'm like, okay. And I go, well, I really didn't want to drop to 170. Yeah, I figured like keep fighting at 185, and if like somebody smashes me or I'm just so overwhelmed, like I'll drop to 170. You know, but I feel like I can hang pretty good with most of the middleweights in the, you know, the world. I'm in the UFC.
Yeah.
And they go, okay. And they offered me 2 fights at middleweight. And they go, do you want to fight Paul Harris? And I don't know if you know him. He heel hooks everybody and doesn't let go. He got kicked out of the UFC for that. And then Dan Henderson.
Legend.
Legend.
Yeah.
But this is my second fight ever professionally. And I'm just like, what, 22 years old? These guys are legends already. And I'm just like, who do I get if I drop down to 170? They go, Steve Bruno from American Top Team. Steve Bruno, neither of these guys. Very talented individual, multiple-time world champion in like Korea and Asia, but not Dan Henderson, not the guy who rips everybody's heels off their body. So I was like, Steve Bruno, 170. That sounds good, and that's how I made the transition to 170.
That's a big cut. Like,
it's a big cut.
What would your last few days be like? You know, with super reduced water, you're just trying to make 171. Like, what do those days feel like?
For me, it was usually what I'd like to do is I'd get my weight down and I'd get it down to about 180, and I'd sit around 180, 185, just training a couple times a day and eating very minimal, but drinking very minimal, you know?
You're on that Christian Bale diet.
Yes. But what I would do, the last 10 pounds were the hardest. So what I would do is work out, drop about 5 pounds, like sauna suit, do this, run sprints, get the sweat going, sit in the sauna, do the whole thing, get about 5 pounds down. And then once I was 5 pounds down, I'd get like a pound of food and then about 2 pounds of liquid, whatever it be. And that's what I would do, like probably like starting the week of the fight. And then I'd get down to probably about the last 5 pounds. The last 5 pounds was really hard. So I wanted to get I didn't want to even eat. I'm so thirsty at this point because now it's just water. There's not an ounce of fat on me. And what I would like to do, because it'd give me energy, make me feel a little good. And it quenched my thirst is I would drink beers. So I would get like a pint and like drink it. It's cold, crisp. It's really hard to chug a beer. So you're just like sipping it, enjoying it. And then I'd go like run a sprint for like 20 minutes on the treadmill, you know, and then the alcohol would help me sweat too. And usually the last couple pounds, I would just use beer, run sprints, do that, and then make weight.
That's insane that you're using beer to make weight.
And don't get me wrong, if I cut a couple extra pounds, I might drink a little bit of water, suck on an ice cube, stuff like that. But I needed them. I needed a lot of carbs. I needed some kind of liquid. And I feel like when your body is that kind of level of malnutrition, your body absorbs everything it gets. Like when you're pooping rabbit pebbles, you know, it's just like your body, my body is working at maximum efficiency right now. Like I'm burning everything I'm putting in.
This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. It is not a coincidence that these lights behind me are blue. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but it's in chewable tablets and it's a fraction of the cost. Now you may be saying, I don't need anything like that. And I'm not suggesting that you do, but it may just kick things up just a little bit in the bedroom for you. If you've ever had a friend talking about how good things are and can be when you take Blue Chew, now is the time to jump in on this. Your first month is free. You just have to pay $5 for shipping when you use the promo code CVV at bluechew.com. That's right, your first month for free. Just pay $5 for shipping when you go to bluechew.com. Try it out. I think you will be rather pleasantly surprised.
So
What was it that got you on WWE's radar?
what got me on WWE's radar? So I had a trial pretty early on into like, I started training like people, you know, TMZ did like, oh, pro wrestler, you know, UFC fighter. So I started getting some play. Like I was making waves, which more so it's really hard for any wrestler, especially if you're just starting off wrestling, to make waves because how do you make waves? You just got to keep wrestling, right? So that helped. I got a trial that kind of put me on the radar. And then trained at the world famous Monster Factory. And I also worked with the ROH dojo as well. So I was training at these places. So I was in the right place to get looked at the right people. And I'm pretty good at pro wrestling. You know, the one thing that was hardest for me was connecting with an audience, which I was still gradually picking up. But people were willing to work with me, especially knowing I might sell a couple tickets because I was in the UFC.
But you connected with an audience in UFC. So how different was it to connect with that pro wrestling audience?
It was way different. So I did some small shows like at the Monster Factory, but then when I started to branch off, like, and I did my first Evolve show, and Evolve and WWE had that relationship, and that's how I actually started our relationship because I did the tryout, then I went back, and they said maybe, hey, we're gonna take a pass on you for now, and you know, and I was probably gonna go to ROH, and they're like, have you ever thought about Evolve? And Evolve was a smaller system, but I knew there was that connection to WWE. So I went to Evolve, and the first weekend I worked for Evolve, usually I get cheered. First weekend I went out to Evolve, they booed me, said I sucked. They said I couldn't wrestle. They chanted Baby Lesnar to me because I was like a small UFC guy, so I guess I'm Baby Lesnar. And that's how my indie kind of run started. And then every time I'd come out and wrestle, and I'm getting better and better. I'm getting more in time because I'm getting more trust from the promoter, Gabe, and everything like that. And eventually, before you know it, everybody's chanting, bro. I'm selling tons of merch, and everybody wants to book me on their show.
How did bro become your gimmick?
So when I started pro wrestling, you know, I watch a lot of it. I see the greats, you know, and I was thinking like, what does like every great have? Every great has like some people would say a catchphrase or catch line, right? For me, especially in modern times, people's focus, attention spans are quicker than ever, I feel, mine included, you know? So, you know, I can't be like, smell like what The Rock's cooking is great. Yeah. It was great for the time. I don't know if that would work, you know? But if you notice right now, Daniel Bryan, yes. You got LA Knight, yeah. You know, you got bro, you know, you got Samoa Joe, you know, there's certain things that like, and it sounds simple, but the bro kind of thing, one, I say bro all the time. Two, I'm a super bro, I'm the king of bros. And then three, it's just like, I could easily get this in a match. I could get this in promos, and I know people will feel it. And it's also, I'm terrible at remembering names. So it does, for me, it checked a lot of boxes. And it checked the box like Daniel Bryan and everybody else. It checked that easy to chant, easy to say, easy to connect with an audience. And also when I think of an audience and when I think that's simple, I'm not just thinking simple because I think my audience is simple. I'm thinking simple because my audience is so vast. I'm not thinking about just the Americans. I'm not thinking about just the Canadians or people from Mexico or people from South America or people from England or people from Germany. I'm thinking about everybody. Everybody from Japan to Italy to everybody. I want everybody. I don't care if you speak my language. You know one word that you can say to me when you see me. And trust me, I was in Tijuana. It doesn't matter if I'm in Germany. Bro! You know, everybody knows how to say bro. It's a 3-letter word. It's just a sound, bro. So everybody can say it, and I can connect with a huge, vast audience because it's that easy. Just like everybody knows yes, no. You know, they're simple words.
Who do you think says bro the most? Matt Riddle, DDP, or Vince Russo?
I have to say Vince Russo. Vince Russo. And sometimes it feels like he's forcing it. No, I think Vince is an awesome guy, but he definitely says bro quite a bit.
He's like almost, it's like every other sentence for him.
It's good. Like if he wrestled, if he was a wrestler, he would have been, I would be like, you're the bro.
Yeah, if he wrestled,
would have been the bro.
You wouldn't have been able to say bro.
I definitely would have been able to say original bro.
Yeah. He starts and ends sentences with bro.
Yeah.
Bro, let me tell you something, bro.
He gets it in. He gets it in. For sure.
Did you pick your theme music to make sure that bro could be something that was sung along with it?
You know, I did. My theme music, like when I first started wrestling, I used it a lot when I fought in the UFC, was Regulators by Warren G. Regulate, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
what a classic.
Yeah, it's just a classic. And I was like, made me happy and I calm and I feel like audience, especially when it comes to fighting, usually it's like Eminem or something crazy, or things have been changing lately. And then even in pro wrestling, it's very metal based or very like heavy hip hop based, but more like angry hip hop. You know, everybody's so aggressive. Like, even
to like hype people up.
Yeah, you know. But so I was feeling like, I feel like I can hype people up, but still be like chill. Like I can get people's heads bobbing without like getting too crazy, you know? And then, of course, in the ring, I'll get crazy. But when it came to the music, when it came to WWE, I was just like, I just want something that sounds like the GTA theme at the time, GTA 5 thing. Like, you know, like that. I want some brass instruments. I want that West Coast feel. And that's what they came up with, and I'm not too picky. I was like, sounds great. I said, bro, they recorded it. That's the track.
How long did it take for fans to catch on with the bro?
Not on the indies when I very first started. That was harder because I might go to a show where nobody's ever seen me wrestle there.
Sure.
Only other than like 3 people in the audience that like have my T-shirt and saw me on the internet. And they're like, he's good, you know?
Yeah.
So like, and I loved it. Like I miss that almost because now I walk everywhere and everybody just says, bro. But before, like I'd walk in a building and then it'd almost be quiet. I'd be like, you guys have no idea what you're in for, dude. Like you're all gonna be chanting my shit by the end of the day. And by the end of the match, they're chanting it, you know? So
that video of you meeting Rob Van Dam and bro, you're saying bro, he's saying dude.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, Rob's a good guy. I like Rob a lot, and he's fun.
And you got a match with him coming up.
I do have a big match, a big-time wrestling coming up with Rob Van Dam. When is it? March 9th?
It's in Ohio, yeah.
March 9th, Ohio. It's going to be sick. Honestly, I'm pretty stoked about it because not only could it just be a sick match that people talk about for years, but it could also, you know, me and Randy's relationship started off with a match. You know, a lot of my relationships, me and Jeff Cobb's relationship started off with a match. So, me and Rob, we seem pretty cool now. I know we'll have a great match because I know I like to go in. I know he can and will go in. And I got a feeling by the end of it, we're going to be chilling. Not going to say what we're going to partake in, but I think we're going to have some fun. And yeah.
He is no stranger to partaking. You are not either. So I feel like this is actually like a dream match of like 420 proportions.
It really is. It should have been on 420.
It really should have.
But to be honest, for me and Rob, 420 is a holiday. I don't like to work too hard. I believe I'm hosting like a party, like a 420 party on 420. So that makes more, you know, I don't want to wrestle on 420. But yes, it is like, and if anything, maybe March 9th will become a new 420 kind of holiday. It's like 3/9, before the 420. Get ready. That's the day of RVD and Matt Riddle.
I can't believe that WWE had a 420 shirt.
Dude, it took a lot of convincing. But I'll tell you this, they're not mad about it. They made quite a pretty penny on it, and so did I. And so did Randy, I would imagine. But yeah, we were trying for months and months, and then 420 came up. And now if you know Randy doesn't like to advertise anything. Randy does his job, and that's his job.
Yeah.
He doesn't, unless he wants to do something, he's not going to do it, that's why Randy's so cool. So we want this 420 shirt. 420, WWE hits us up on 419. They go, Randy, Riddle, we're going to do an RKBro 420 shirt. We're only going to do a limited release, one day only. All right? They could have told us any other shirt, whatever. I probably would have shared it. Randy wouldn't have shared it. Me and Randy texted each other separately from them, and we go, we're sharing the hell out of this shirt. We are getting this over. We're getting this. We need this to sell. Like we wanted it. We wanted it. We needed it. We finally got what we wanted. We need to make this happen. We got to let them know how much money there is. And literally, not even 16 hours into 420, we got a call. And they're like, oh, we're going to keep the shirt going. We're just going to keep it going. And then even after Randy left because of his injury, they had the Bro 420 shirt, which sold like hotcakes, and the Bro 420 hats and everything else.
But for WWE, a PG company, to do a 420 shirt, that feels like it's really walking the line.
It's walking the line, but I look at it like this. 420 is just a number, baby. You know what I'm saying? And it only means what you think it means. And at the same time, I think the reason why me and Randy's relationship works so well, and not just so well for everyone, especially so well in WWE. WWE is very family oriented. There's a lot of dads and a lot of kids. There's a lot of moms and a lot of kids. And I think, when you got me and Randy together, one, granted, I'm a 420 guy. But like I'm more the childish side of it. I'm riding the scooter around like you would your parent, and everything like that. So I feel like it almost felt normal to do that. If anything, it was almost like Randy's my dad, and I'm like doing goofy ass stuff, and he's like, stop that, or like when I was like spelling calibration, and I'm like, oh, like how when I weigh stuff on my scale at home, and he's like, and then I spell calibration perfectly. Because of course I know how to spell calibration. I have a scale that I weigh grams and ounces on.
Do you remember the first time you met Randy Orton?
The very first time was, I believe, at Survivor Series. And we wrestled, and I actually got the pinfall on him, and he hit me with an RKO afterwards, and it was sweet. Stiff RKO. My mouth was bleeding. I don't know if it was my fault, but just because I like him so much, I was like, yeah, do it, But yeah.
I think you told a story where you're like,
the first time like I was on the main roster, and like we're sharing a locker room for real, and Randy met me. Yeah, Randy didn't like me.
Why not?
I look at it like this. I don't like bothering people. So if you're in a room and I see you talking to a bunch of people, jib-jabbing, laughing, unless I like know you well, probably just going to keep my distance because I don't want to interrupt your little powwow and your fun, So when I first met Randy, that's kind of how it was. It was COVID. And so we're all like in a locker room, spaced out, this and that. So I guess I had a chance to say hi, and I didn't take it or what have you. And I think Randy took that as disrespect. Like I didn't think he was cool enough or something. And then Randy was like, how do I get this like asshole fired? And I was like, oh man, like, dude. But he didn't say that to me. He had told me that later when we were friends.
Did he actually try to get you fired?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like I would have had to do something else to really grind his gears. Plus, I feel like a lot of people, when they first meet me, they hear things about me or this, that. And then when they meet me and work with me and hang out with me, they're like, oh, like even Seth, when I talked to him finally, because we didn't like each other for a minute. And I always liked him. I just, But when we finally talked, he was like, wow, you're like a really cool guy. I was like, thanks, man. He's like, I hear all this crap about you. And I'm just like, yeah, it is.
Wait, why didn't Seth like you?
Well, my ex-wife said some stuff about Becky and Mandy, like kind of body shaming them. And Seth assumed I was like on that boat as well, which I was not. I would never body shame anybody. So then I went up to Seth and apologized for my wife's comments, and I don't feel that way, and wished him best of luck with Becky and his new baby that was on the way.
There's a lot of stories like this, I feel like, with you.
Not too many.
Why?
I feel just because I talk a lot of trash and it's pro wrestling, I think I get that from like my fight side, because in fighting, people say whatever. They say the fights that are coming up, you've heard the press conferences, like fighters say everything and they're vicious and they're mean and they're cruel. And like me, I feel like I'm not vicious or mean or cruel, but like I'll talk some trash. And I just think, just being around some bad people at bad times, like, like the ex saying that, it's like, that's just bad, like, that hurt my career probably, just upsetting Seth. Like, that's why he didn't work with me that one Survivor Series match, and he just let Sheamus kick him in the face. And I was like, okay, like, my bad, dude, but it is what it is.
There was that moment backstage.
Goldberg?
With Goldberg.
Well, Goldberg, I'll say this. And me and Goldberg have talked. I'm not going to say we've hashed everything out because I'm me and he's him, and I'm not a huge fan of his work. That's I'm not a huge fan of his wrestling style per se. That's all I'm gonna say. I think he's great at drawing money. I think he's great at sports entertaining. I think he's an awesome action star. I saw him play as Santa Claus in a horror movie. I told him all this. I like a bunch of stuff he do. I'm just not a fan of his work. And that's that. Now I think if we wrestled, I would want to do a couple things differently, and I think it could be better, but that's a whole different can of worms. But at the end of the day, me and Goldberg don't get along because I talked some trash about his wrestling. He didn't like it. He took it as disrespect. And I said it's not disrespectful because it's true. And then he didn't like that and told me how successful he's been. And I go, you'll be more successful than I'll probably ever be in my life. But nobody's ever going to tune back in to watch like a classic, like Goldberg match. They might watch a Spear compilation because they're tight, jackhammer compilation, cool, or maybe one or two matches, but you're not going back. You're not going back like you go back to watch Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in the Iron Man match.
It's a different style
or
of
Razor
wrestler.
Shawn in the first ever ladder. Or I could keep continuing.
Sure.
You're not going to go back like that because he doesn't have any of those in his arsenal.
But then,
but he's still one of the best of all time. And I'm not going to argue that. And I'd say that to his face now. And he knows that. We've said that.
He's certainly one of the best in WCW, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, when it comes to drawing and making money, which honestly, this is what the business is about, he does it probably better. He can still do it better than 90% of the people that do it today.
So you say all this stuff, but then the first time you meet him, there's a camera right there.
My buddy Giancarlo was following me, and he must have knew. He's like, you're going to run into Goldberg. But yeah, and the worst part is it looks like it's staged, but it's not. Like I was like reading a sign, and then like he's a pretty big dude, and he just like shoulder tackles me, and I'm just like, what? Oh, it's you. And like I know you hate me because I talk all this trash.
Did you think he was gonna punch you?
No, boy, if he did, I would have beat him up. So it wouldn't have mattered. He knows better, just like most people know better, and that's that. It's just. But at the same time, I do respect Bill because he came up and said something. And like I said, he wasn't my bro. I thought honestly, it was just, and I think people don't realize two different eras of like combat athletes, two different eras of pro wrestling. I feel like 90s pro wrestling was like, oh, I'm going to rip your head off, right? And it worked, like at Goldberg. Now I feel like that works to an extent, but a guy like me works really well too. It's more realistic. And today, half the UFC fighters are like me, because I am a former UFC fighter. They are like me.
Then there was the stuff with the build-up to the Seth Rollins feud, which really felt real.
Well, part of it's real because, my ex-wife did divorce me, or not my ex, but my wife divorced me. And when you're traveling as much as I am and everything, I really don't have a leg to stand on. It's not like I'll be home to raise the kids. I'm gone like all the time. My schedule is not consistent during the week. So, I didn't really get full custody of the kids. I get to see them. I see them like every week. I'm not like, and I like pay child support and everything. I pay for everything. But but at the same time, I figured there was already some rumors, this, that, and the other thing. And I go, you might as well, because they're like, what? Because we started this feud. He had Cody, and Randy got hurt. So my stuff ended with Randy because we were going to go into something. And then Seth's stuff ended with Cody because Cody got hurt. So they paired us up together. But we didn't want to just all two good wrestlers just wrestling. We wanted to make this last. Seth's good. And Seth doesn't want anything to just be short-lived. And Seth knows how talented I was as well. So that's what we were trying to do. And when we were talking about talking trash, I was like, well, honestly, what you should say to me, because I know everybody jaws will drop. You should call me a deadbeat dad and this and that. And that's why your wife left you and took your kids.
You suggested.
Oh, I suggested. Yeah. If you suggested, I would have knocked him out. You know, like, how dare you? You know?
Did you suggest dropping the F-bomb on TV?
No, that was given to me. So thank you, Triple H, Paul. But they gave, but I think that was the give take, because Seth also, I didn't want to say anything too bad about Becky or him or this or that. Also, unless they gave me something, but they didn't really give me that kind of ammunition, but I also know to have a good match, to have a good story, especially in WWE, you need good ammunition. You need some animosity. I need to blur that line. That blurred the line completely. Now people think we hate each other, and it looks like we hate each other. And people thought we hated each other before he even said that to me. So now you got all these smarks, all these people, all the casual fan, everybody. And now even the boys in the back are like, so you guys like each other? Like, how's that match going to go? I'm like, dude, it's like we're professionals. But that's what I try to do. Sorry.
Oh, Triple H is calling you now.
No, it's not. Somebody else. I'll turn that on silent.
Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
So
dropping the F-bomb is like the cherry on top of life.
Yes.
Okay, that doesn't happen.
The cherry, it was also cherry on top. It also gave me an element of realism. He got his bullet of realism. That gave me mine because nobody says the F word in WWE. Right. Nobody says it on TV. And especially my character who's cool as a cucumber. Why would I ever say that? He crossed the line. Where the are you?
Yeah.
Where are you? I'm gonna fight. I gotta kill you. I couldn't say that. They said I couldn't say kill, but I could say I could say the F-bomb.
Yeah, that felt really real.
Yeah, and that's what we were going for. And when you can do that and then back it up with somebody's like Seth's talent, my talent, for me, it was a match made in heaven. It's something I wanted to do for the longest time. And to have it happen on the biggest stage, WWE, it's amazing.
How do you go from Randy not being a fan of you, not liking you, to being buddies, being bros with him?
So with Randy, for Randy to trust you, especially somebody in my position, you have to work with him. He has to see what you're capable of in the ring, especially with him. There's a lot of people, they look good, but they'll hurt you or this, that, and the other thing. And me and Randy wrestled before. I actually just dropped the U.S. title, got beat up by Bobby. Then the following week, they had me tag with Randy or have a match with Randy. And I think Randy was supposed to wrestle Braun Strowman at the time, but they switched up the card. So I wrestled Randy, and they go, hey, we're going to have a feud with you and Randy going into Backlash. You're going to wrestle Randy, beat him. Then Randy's going to suggest you guys tag, and we'll have promos doing this. Then you guys tag, you think you're cool, and then he RKOs you. We set up the feud, go into Backlash, talk some trash. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we get to do RKBro, which I pitched and everybody laughed at me because I wanted to, I'm always pitching. Not pitching for somebody. I always say goofy stuff to the writers to see if it happens. Sometimes it does, RKBro. So that we're tagging, we're starting this little feud. Cool. And then we do the singles match. And after the singles match, Randy was over the moon with me. And I was over the moon with Randy. It was great. And he allowed me to do a lot of stuff. And I also made sure, because I knew how he was feeling, even then, I made sure to make sure he didn't feel an ounce of pain in my match, Not saying I didn't hit him. I hit him where I knew it wouldn't kill him, but, I knew how to work. After that, Randy was like, I want to work with this guy all the time. We did the tag match next week, and right before the match, they go, hey, don't RKO Riddle. The people are kind of liking this RKBro thing. And then we're just from there. But it was the same thing kind of with even Pete and me. When me and Pete teamed up, we were supposed to team once, lose second round or first round of the Dusty Cup, feud with each other, match. We teamed once, won. People are really high on the broserweights. Then before you know it, we're winning the Dusty Cup. I have a golf cart that says broserweights on it and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that formula, And with Randy, it was that, but times 100, because we were on the main roster and Randy's Randy, and we had a better dynamic in the sense, like, he's, like I said, he's older, wiser, he's the Viper, he's cutthroat, he's a killer. And technically, if you know my background, UFC fighter, I'm a killer too, but my character in WWE, I'm like, hey, Randy, like, how are you, man? Like, are we going to go ride scooters later? I got some Speedos, like, that's the character, because I'm supposed to be, the goofball.
Randy's been there for 20 plus years. So what's the biggest thing you pick up from him?
I think the biggest thing, not only did I pick up from, Randy's my boy. So there's tons of things I picked up from him, and he's helped me out a lot with. But the biggest thing when it comes to professional wrestling is just timing. Just taking your time. Even like wrestling on the indies again, I feel like people feel like they need to rush and this and that. And it's like, and it seems crazy. The longer you wait at certain times, it gives the audience an opportunity to do what they're supposed to do. If you're working the whole time, they're just watching the whole time. You need moments, and Randy is the master at moments. His walkout alone is a moment. His pose is a moment, That's what you learn from Randy. His moments,
I feel like you had a lot of opportunities. It was like start stop with you, like, and you've told these stories recently. You were supposed to win the Rumble in 2022. Maybe. Okay. It's maybe. Okay. Now it's maybe.
No,
right.
It's not maybe. There was some talk going back and forth. Did I ever hear Vince say, you're winning the Rumble, kid? No, I never heard that. But there was some talks with some producers and some writers about this or that possibly happening. That's it. And then we talked about possibly how I might eliminate some of the people to lead to that. So that all did happen. Now, what actually happened, we got to the Royal Rumble, didn't hear anything all day. And then when we get to the back, I know I'm in the final 5 or 4 or whatever it is. And I'm taking a destroyer from Bunny and I'm doing this and that and the other thing. And then when we get there, we were supposed to have a bunch of spots. Shane McMahon's in there, all this. And I don't want to mention names, but somebody didn't want to do any of the spots and just wanted to throw everybody out of the ring. We all know
who you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what happened. Because we didn't argue, and he was tired. He just got bashed in the head with a world title, and he was pissed. So it's like, yeah, dude, just happy to be here, right? So, yeah. So that's the Rumble story. But, yeah, there was talks about it. Just like there's talks about me winning Money in the Bank. And it's like, wasn't I up there with Seth? And then up there again with Theory? It's like, yeah, I was put in a position, too. Things change, It's like, that's what happens. I was supposed to retain the United States Championship at WrestleMania. The day of, Abyss comes in and goes, hey, change plans. Sheamus is winning. And I don't know, maybe they were telling Sheamus he was winning the whole time. I had no idea. I'll just do my job. So
is that pretty common? Day of change?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I guess like if you're Roman or somebody, they probably give you more of a heads up. But like if you're me, yeah, when I won the U.S. title, I wasn't even supposed to win. Keith Lee was supposed to win. He got COVID, was really sick. They replaced him with John Morrison, and then I replaced Keith Lee to win. And I pinned Morrison. Keith was supposed to pin me to protect Bobby.
Things change.
Things change. And the fans are just very difficult because they're like, oh, he said it was a fact. And it's like, dude, nothing's a fact. I'm more likely to know who's going to win a real fight than I know who's going to win a pro wrestling match in WWE.
I've heard so many people be like, they've told me it was supposed to be this thing.
My boy Priest won Money in the Bank. Beforehand, he didn't know if he was going to win Money in the Bank, dude. What? And he won. So it's like, people, come on. And that's the thing. They do that to keep everybody safe, keep us on our toes and everything else. Also, when you just find out and then you do it, the surprise on your face is a lot bigger, huh? Right? So like, that makes sense. But yes, these situations are factual. They are true. They
factual.
They are fiction, not nonfiction.
Maybe could have won the Rumble. Possibly. Maybe could.
In an alternate universe, if things went a different way.
You've already won it in an alternate universe.
Yeah, I won that one. But this one, a couple things happened differently.
And then Money in the Bank went to Theory instead of you.
Yes. And somebody said, like, why would they want you to win the Rumble? It was because we had like Bobby feuding with whoever. The title matches were almost set up, but we wanted to set something up with me and Randy. So if I won the Rumble, especially if I eliminated Randy, we would have kind of beef, but then Randy should still be proud of me, right? And we're friends, but knowing Randy, how's he going to keep his cool, right? And that was kind of the angle story, possibly. Possibly. And what happened, which was still amazing, you know?
Do you feel like
Brock won another Rumble and, you know?
And no one really remembers that.
Yeah, of course not.
Do you feel like the door is still open at WWE?
Well, I'll say this, and this isn't a knock to anybody. Good luck to everybody. If CM Punk can come back, there's definitely a possibility I could.
That's not a knock at all. That's like,
if
CM Punk,
and congrats to everybody. Hope everybody's making tons of money. I am too.
If CM Punk can come back, if Ultimate Warrior can come back, if Bret Hart can come back, and the list goes on and on and on.
I'll say this. I have no ill will. I really don't. I'm thankful they gave me the opportunities they gave me. I'm super stoked on it, super happy about it. And yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm just, even with the UFC, I'm not bitter. I'm grateful. I got to fight in the biggest fight organization in the world. And even when Dana slammed me, it built my stardom for being like 420 athlete of the year. So it's like, can't knock it. WWE gave me a platform, multiple WrestleManias, multiple Royal Rumbles, multiple Survivor Series, multiple everything. Sweet. Thank you. No harm. Thank you for all the money and the championships and how people and kids look at me because they got to see me on their screen. Thank you.
Did you see the release coming? Like, did you feel like it was imminent?
I thought it was coming months ago. I thought I was going to get released the second but I didn't think I was coming back Raw after Mania. I thought I was going to get released with a bunch of other people after Mania.
Like you thought it would be a budget cut release?
Budget cut release. And then the last one, before anything happened, it was like, Endeavor signing, UFC's merging, this is about to happen. I'm like, well, this isn't good. And even before that, I was rubbing people the wrong way. And it was just, I could see the writing on the wall. I was being treated slightly differently, and I completely understand, and I get it. But it was a thing. And it's not a knock on them. I think they're being as professional as they can be while running a professional wrestling organization. And pro wrestling is not easy to run.
So this is more of a knock on you. You're like,
yeah,
I took it too far, maybe.
Dude, it's me for sure. Just like the UFC, I could have quit smoking some weed and I would have been fine, right? I could have still been there maybe. Granted, things would have changed if I would have still been there. Now I can do whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't change. You know, I am who I am, and it is what it is. And
it seems like it's worked out well for you. Like,
it does.
You've got a lot of bookings.
And one thing you said earlier in this talk is, you know, things happen for a reason. One door shuts, another door opens, you know? And I think for this, like, that's why I'm not bitter. Even towards the UFC, I'm not bitter. You know, do I wish I could have fought a couple more fights? Yeah. I wish I could have maybe fought for the title one day. But yeah, and with WWE, man, I wish I could have finished the story with Randy, but I get it, dude. I mess up, do this. I'm always causing problems. There's always a dumb article written about me. I'm getting porn stars pregnant. And so dude, it's whatever, dude. I get it. For WWE, I'm a PR nightmare, and I get it, dude. But if you actually look at my track record, how many times I've been arrested? 0. How many times I've been in trouble? 0. Anything. I'm not in trouble. I don't actually do anything wrong. If anything, I'm just in a bad spot, and I'm under too much magnification, and things are, especially taken the wrong way, you know. And pro wrestling fans are my audience, and they're very gullible at times. You know, the world's very gullible at times. So it's very much a world of like perception is reality. It is, you know.
And I think that you being tied to a porn star in the PG perception.
Which I love. I love my girlfriend, Misha Montana. We have a baby boy, Matthew. I couldn't be happier.
Matthew Jr.
No. I gave him my brother's middle name because my brother's not going to have any kids. So Matthew Ronald Riddle. So... But basically, Matthew Jr., little Matthew is what I call him.
I'm a new dad, so.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
New dad. Well, I've been a dad for a minute,
New dad again.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
She was born in May.
Oh, awesome, man.
So it's.
Welcome to the party. Only one?
Only one so far.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yes. Who knows what we'll be blessed with.
It gets rougher, dude. It gets rougher. The only good thing is you have one and then you have another. The older one helps. Like, just by default, that baby seeing this baby, they grow up faster.
I've heard this. The more you have, the more they just start taking care of each other.
The twins were all over the place, and twins are brutal. And then I had my son, and the twins, like, not that they raised them, but just my son watching the twins, he learned how to walk quicker. He learned how to crawl quicker. He learned how to talk quicker just because he saw them going through the baby steps. It was easy for him to learn.
If you look at just the headlines, Matt Riddle lives a wild life.
Super wild. I mean, and to be fair, has it been wild at times? Of course, but like 9 times out of 10, it's pretty mild. I'm like hang out with my kids. I train jujitsu. I work out a bunch. I mean, I do 420 quite a bit. I like to play some video games, but most of the time.
What's the game you're playing?
Oh, right now, well, I'm replaying the remake of Dead Space, and I beat it. I'm playing it on New Game, New Game Plus, where you play with all your guns that you already have. So doing that, then Impossible. I like to platinum games.
I love asking what games you're playing because somebody watching is going to be like, no way.
Dead Space. I got that new Alan Wake 2. I'm a big survival horror. There's another game called The Forest 2 or Sons of the Forest 2. It's insane. It's only on the PC. I play a lot of video games. I try to. I'm going to actually start streaming probably the next couple weeks.
Oh, people are going to love that.
People seem to like me, so I figured might just stream. I don't really care for myself, but but people seem to want to see me do stuff, and I'm already playing video games. So
I feel like if you combine those two, people are going to love it.
Maybe.
Streaming is such a thing right now.
Yeah, plus, I got the porn star girlfriend, so she'll probably pop in once in a while, whatever that means.
Do you call her by her real name?
Yeah, her name's Misha, and she's beautiful. I don't actually use her street name because
her street name.
You can't use a street name because then people might find her. And I already get harassed enough. We don't need her getting harassed. I'll say my life. If anything, my life is insane because from any given day or point, like you said, we've been trying to do this for a minute.
We have,
and it's been brutal. And yeah. It's been brutal, not in a bad way, but it's just it's a lot,
I appreciate you for making the time.
I appreciate you for being so understanding and making it work for me as well.
Of course. I knew it would happen at some point in time.
Yes. And I've seen your work. I've seen the clips.
There's going to be a lot of clips from this one.
You've done it with a bunch of my friends like Cross and everybody else. So it's I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Cross flew here to be in that studio.
Yeah, Cross is an overachiever.
He is.
That's one thing people don't know about him. He really overachieves.
What belt is he in jiu-jitsu?
I think he's a purple.
Oh, he's coming for you.
His nogi's really good. And the thing about Cross, he's very big. I'm pretty big, but he's big.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I'm very athletic.
People sleep on the fact that you're a black belt.
I'm very talented.
Very modest too.
Yeah. Well, I really do try, but at a point, pretty good.
I just think that there's a lot of just wrestling fans, just WWE fans, if you will, that go, oh, cool, Matt was in UFC. That's great. They don't know your pedigree of how good you are.
I'll tell you this. I know I have a good pedigree because even when I fought in the UFC and even after the UFC, whenever I run into high-level trainers like Greg Jackson and stuff like that, they're always Riddle, always a pleasure. They're always super high on me. And it's dude, they know, they just know, unlimited gas tank, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, hits like a freight train, good coaching. This guy would probably be a top 10, and I was. So,
what's your favorite finish of all time?
Favorite finish in a fight? My favorite has to be the standing arm triangle, where Chris Clemens, Calgary, took the fight. It's actually my first failed drug test for marijuana because I took the fight on 10 days' notice, and I quit. Just wasn't out of my system.
Not in time, yeah.
And but I drove from Texas to Calgary because I did that so I could use those plane tickets for me and my kids to go visit my family because I can get plane tickets. I can swap out I'll be at the fight, but can I use these tickets for another destination? And they'd be like, yeah. So I just drove from Texas to Calgary, bought Chris Clemens, and then drove back. At the time I was running a gym in Texas.
That is a heck of a story to go.
Yeah, and then I got that standing arm triangle, and then that was my biggest payday of the night. I made $140,000 in one night in Canada.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, bought my house and a car with that. Cheaper times. Inflation's been crazy.
Think about this story though, the idea of I was so cheap, or I was trying to save money that I was going to save that flight and drive from Texas to Calgary, which is probably 25
and then imagine
hours.
I win $140,000. I'm an idiot.
Dude,
I could have just got the flight.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So I end every conversation talking about gratitude. It's such an important part of my life.
Yes.
I woke up this morning. I do it every day. I say out loud three things I'm grateful for, and I do it before I go to sleep. Yeah. So what are 3 things, Matt, that you're grateful for?
3 things I'm grateful for. I would say I'm extremely grateful for my friends, my friends, you know, and when I say that, you know, if you're one of them, you know, I'm nice to everybody, but the friends that have had my back through thick and thin, I've had fans that are my fans and then turn their back on me. Friends, you know, I have friends and I'm super what is it?
Grateful
for that. Super grateful for my girlfriend because honestly, through everything, even getting fired and everything, she's been super supportive. And I wasn't that upset getting fired. I was actually relieved because I've been thinking I was going to get fired for months at this point. And I was like, but it happened. All right.
Relieved?
Yeah.
Couldn't you have
it's a lot, dude. Honestly, it's a lot of working there. There's a lot of stress and TV times. And then there's a lot of say letdown. You know, you think one thing's going to happen and things don't happen. And it happens very often. You have to be ready to and this isn't a bad thing. And anybody that works there would agree. And I love the job, but you're going to have to eat some shit sandwiches, you know? And sometimes traveling all over the world, traveling back and forth to India just to hold a sword. That's a shit sandwich, dude. I don't know how else to put it, you know. And I love Drew, but I would have if I'm going to India, I want to work. Why am I here? And I was sick as a dog and everything else. So it's just brutal, you know. So it's I don't know. I was grateful for something.
You're grateful for your porn star girlfriend.
I'm grateful
you didn't call
for
her
my
your
girlfriend.
You didn't call her your porn
me
star
and supporting
girlfriend
me. Yeah, that's how you did it. All right. She's really good. She's award winning. So that makes it better.
Isn't there a convention going on?
Right now, we were actually gonna do that this week, but I decided, hey, with the baby and everything, let's be good parents.
Are you gonna get into that?
No, well, no. I mean, I tease the OnlyFans, you know. There's a lot of money on the table. I just feel like I still have a lot of cards to play in professional wrestling and maybe mixed martial arts. So, and I'll say this, and maybe this is a selfish grateful, but I'm grateful for me. I'm grateful for never giving up. I'm grateful for not giving a shit most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for being a rock for people when they're down. I'm grateful for overreacting when I do because I know I'm in the right, even if it takes time for people to see it, just like my UFC career, and now it's off the list and everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for being me.
I love that. Well, cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks,
cheers.
Bro.
F3, way better than an F5, bro. Yeah.